Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Radio Gagan. We're sat here with, again, of course, Gagan Mahindra, the MP for South West Hertfordshire. Gagan, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Gabriel.
And we're also joined with a work experience called Louie. Louie, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
So, Gagan, there was some rather big news yesterday. I'm sure that anyone who's not living under a rock will be aware that there's going to be an election on the 4th of July.
Indeed. So the Prime Minister went to His Majesty the King and was outside number 10 informing the country that he has called a general election.
And so how are you feeling about this? Are you nervous, excited? What words would you?
Both, actually. I think anyone involved in elected office and politics, the short campaign and the date of an election always gives you a combination of butterflies, excitement, trepidation, and all the other weird and wonderful emotions associated with trying to get elected.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially because I think it came as a surprise for a lot of people, a lot of staffers like myself included. So, Louie, you're from the patch. You live in Chorleywood, is that right?
Yes, Chorleywood.
So what question would you have for Gagan? Anything Chorleywood specific?
Yeah, so something in particular is the Green Belt has been a key topic of discussion among constituents and people who I know personally as well. And the plan involves around 675 homes and an entire primary school to be built on Green Street.
Yes.
Which is also currently used for farming as well, and of course near St Clement Danes School. Obviously housing is a main issue in England, and more specifically the total population of South West Herts projected to reach 615,000 by 2043. So what are your thoughts concerning this plan, and what are you doing or are going to do in relation to this?
So in terms of the Green Street applications, I spoke at a public meeting recently in the Memorial Hall in Chorleywood, organised by the Parish Council. I'm actually against the speculative development. I think it's totally inappropriate. It's prime Greenbelt. Greenbelt is meant to stop urban sprawl. Unfortunately, we don't have a up-to-date local plan in place, so there is a presumption of development within Three Rivers because of our lack of planning approvals. So these are all things that are causing us as a local community issues where speculative developers can come in and put an application in. So it's currently going through Three Rivers Planning Authority. I'm hoping that councillors will listen to local residents. If it does go to a public appeal, judicial review, I may well speak against it in the public forum side of it, subject to obviously still being a member of Parliament.
Yeah, well, fantastic. And on a slightly more national note, something that was in the news this morning was the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said that there probably wouldn't be a Rwanda flight before the election day on the 4th of July. Obviously, Keir Starmer doesn't agree with the plan or the strategy. What do you think about it? Do you think it's important? Do you think it will work as a deterrent?
So I've said this both privately and occasionally publicly. I think if you try and do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result, I think it was Einstein said that's a sign of madness. None of us want to see the bodies washed up on the short streets when people are trying to come to this country illegally. They're typically victims of human traffickers. And I'm a second-generation immigrant. I understand the draw of trying to get to the United Kingdom and live your life here, but actually we're British. We believe in fairness. So the ultimate aim for me would be that actually we would have the Rwanda plan in place, but no flights take off at all because we've deterred everyone who attempted to come to this country.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but I know Sir Keir was head of the CPS and. A lot of his Labour front bench signed petitions not encouraging criminals not to be deported, and those same criminals have ended up committing more crimes. And actually, that can't be right. When someone is found guilty of a crime, they should be deported back to their original country. But in terms of the immigration aspect, it remains a challenge for whichever party wins the next general election.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And Louie, you got another question for Gagan?
So one that includes your personal involvement. So on Monday, the automated vehicles law was granted royal assent, which now enables advanced technology to safely drive vehicles on British roads, whilst putting Great Britain firmly at the forefront of self-driving technology regulation. So with your personal involvement in this bill in the Commons General Committee, how do you believe this will benefit Great Britain's roads as well as their economy?
So just for all the listeners, by way of background, I am the Department Whip for Department of Transport, so I sat on the Bill Committee for the automated vehicles. As part of being on that committee, I was given the opportunity of being in a self-driving vehicle that went around Westminster. So I saw firsthand the ambition for the bill. And it's the first stage of trying to encourage automated vehicles. Automated vehicles still have a long way to go before they are safe, but actually we're creating the regulatory environment to allow them to be tested and to actually learn human behaviour and the rules and regulations of the road. So as you correctly pointed out, Louis, we are at the forefront of this. I know places in the US have already got automated vehicles out and about, but London is a very old city, and if we can get something working with our buses, cyclists, pedestrians, tourists and all the rest of it, that surely must be a good thing.
Yeah, that would be a feat and a half. Even you walk outside of Westminster, how busy and hectic it is with cyclists and tourists and taxis and buses and everything going on.
And staffers running late for work.
Yeah, never me though. I'm always prompt and on time. And a big thing that the Prime Minister's been saying in the last couple of days, especially with the election in mind, is that we're living in exceptionally dangerous times, and the next 5 years are going to be a real challenge geopolitically. Obviously, you've got the war still raging in Ukraine. You have growing tensions in the Middle East with Iran sending rockets at Israel, and there's questions about China and Taiwan and the nature of that situation. How important do you think it is that we invest in our military capacities? And what do you think about the government's aim to get 2.5% spending by 2030?
I think it's hugely important. When I got elected 4.5 years ago, the world was a significantly safer place than it is today. I've got Northwood NATO base in my constituency. I've always been immensely proud of our relationship with NATO. And the ultimate deterrent we need is a strong armed forces that means that bullies and dictators around the world choose not to pick a fight because they think they will lose. I think it's a failure of statecraft over many, many years that Putin decided to invade Ukraine. Iran and China, to some degree, have different values to the Western world. And I'm very proud that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have got our defence spending up to 2.5% of GDP. I noticed that Labour have not committed to that because part of how we're going to finance that is a reduction in civil service. But, to answer chaps, the Defence Secretary is my former boss when I was in transport. I know he has an ambition to increase that, and I think we need to actually be serious about doing that because people have been using the term peace dividend. I didn't think there'll be a major war in Europe during my lifetime. There is. We need to react accordingly. Yeah,
no. Obviously an important issue, and I think it'll be an important issue in the election campaign to come.
So we mentioned at the beginning, but more about the general election. I know you spent a lot of time in local government.
Yes.
But what do you think will make you stand out as a candidate as you campaign across the entirety of South West Herts constituency?
So unsurprisingly, I've been thinking about that very question a lot in the last 24 hours. And I think my pitch to my electorate will be, I've changed lives doing this job. The lives I've changed you'll never hear about because they're the individual cases that we've got involved in as an MP's office. And yes, I fully appreciate it's not just me, but my great team around me that do a lot of the heavy lifting. But we do roughly about 10,000 pieces of casework a year. And if you think I represent 106,000 people, the ability to have a positive influence on someone's life And I can assure you we've changed people's lives. There was a child that couldn't get into their preferred school because of what their parents did. We got involved and the school accepted them. Things like rescuing people when they were trapped around the world during the pandemic. It's a bit surreal, you know. We've got a lot of Ukrainian families living in South West Hertfordshire, and rightly so, and I'm very proud of my communities that have stepped up to help support. We had Afghan refugees in one of our hotels. These are people that we should absolutely be supporting and defending, and as a country we did do, but more specifically in South West Hertfordshire we definitely did do, and I'm happy to be associated with that.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, so normally we sort of have the serious questions and some more light-hearted questions to round it off. And given the growing tensions around the election, it might be nice to have some more laid-back things. So I understand you went on a summer cricket tour.
I did, yes.
Yeah. So would you like to fill in listeners, Gagan? Were you more of a bowler or a batsman?
Gabriel, this is an awful question for me because I'm probably more like a team mascot because how badly I'm paid. I was lucky enough, and this job as a Member of Parliament gives me opportunities that money can't buy. The ability to justify going to Devon for a weekend on a cricket tour and saying that's work related, it's still a bit surreal. Mr. Speaker was there, and this was the inaugural cup of an annual tour between ourselves, the Lord Taverners, the great charity associated with the Lords, and Sidmouth Cricket Club, who are really, really good. So because of rain, I only ended up playing one match. I got one run, which at least I didn't get a duck as a batsman. I bowled very, very badly for 2 overs, but somehow I managed to get the opposition captain out, LBW. I think he's still traumatised by that, and I'm still jumping for joy. But actually, more seriously, the ability to actually showcase the excellent work that the Lord Taverners do and us as parliamentarians do supporting our communities. I know we've got some wonderful green spaces and cricket squares in South West Hertfordshire. I am a cricket fan, as you alluded to, Gabriel. So I've been lucky enough to open up some nets recently in Chipperfield and the like. And I was meant to be playing cricket today, but because the general election was called yesterday, with all the fixtures have been cancelled.
Can't imagine that's a priority for a lot of people at the moment.
No. So seeing as you're in London for a large majority of the time, what is your favourite place to eat?
Actually, the food in Parliament is good. Now, I know some of the food rating out of 5 is questionable, but that's because we are a very old building. We're right next to the Thames. We do have issues with rats and mice and other vermin. But for instance, today we had jerk chicken for lunch. And
a Westminster classic.
It is, and I know, Gabriel, you're a big fan.
Oh, huge.
But it's one of those that, because of the nature of my job, I know I need to stay on the estate. So the ability to have decent quality food at a reasonable price is actually a real priority. Yes, I've been lucky enough to have work meetings and dinners elsewhere, but I do find it nice to have food here.
Yeah. And finally, with the summer coming up, obviously I don't think it will be a chief concern for the next 6 weeks. But what's an ideal summer getaway for yourself?
So it's a weird one. Since I've been a member of Parliament, I haven't really had a holiday abroad. Yes, I've travelled for work, but Gabes, you all know this. My team run my diary, and my summer months are normally taken up doing incumbency work. You know, going to see businesses, do some campaigning, being out and about, because the nature of my job as a Member of Parliament is I need to interact with my voters, most of whom work. So for me to see them is typically in antisocial hours. And the summer recess and other recesses give me the opportunity to actually see people in their place of work, which I wouldn't normally be able to do when Parliament's sitting. So, I don't obviously know what my plans are for the summer yet, but I'm sure it'll be a combination of, if I'm re-elected, continuing to support my community, but also trying to catch my breath after a general election.
I'm sure it will be needed, I imagine.
Yes.
A lot of people would understand the hecticness of an election. So I think that's all we have from us. So I'm going to round off and say thank you very much again, listeners, for tuning in. Thanks, gang, for sitting down.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you, Louie, for being involved.
Yes. Great to have a work experience to join in and spice it up a bit. So till next time, listeners. Bye.
Thanks.